Hey, what's up guys? Thank you for joining us for another of our 2025 e-mountain bike shootout episodes presented by Fox Racing, Orbea Tires and Velocirax and hosted by the beautiful Silent Mountain Ranch. Today, me and Cole are going to talk you through the Orbea Wild, talking about how it performed out on the trails. So let's get into it. So for 2025, Orbea updated the Wild, giving it a little bit more travel with 170mm travel on both ends, now making it mullet compatible as well as 29-inch wheel friendly, and tweaking the frame, the geometry a little bit, the stiffness here and there, and of course fitting the Bosch Performance Line CX Gen 5 drive unit. That Bosch Gen 5 drive unit can now, in the Flow app, be boosted up to 100 Nm of torque and 750 watts of peak power, making it quite competitive with the other drive units on test. And then it is powered by a choice of either the 600 watt-hour or 750 watt-hour Bosch batteries inside that down tube. It's not easily removable, you have to drop out the motor to get to them, but certainly if you need to, you can get access to them. It's a little bit of a shame that Bosch has opted to spec the 750 as the max instead of the lighter weight and larger capacity 800 watt-hour, but we'll get onto that a little bit later on in the ride impressions.
Our custom build comes in at $9,973. However, there are build options for both aluminum frames and this carbon frame here, starting at $64.99 all the way up to $11,999. So as I mentioned, this is the eMTB edition, dripped with Fox factory components with a 38 up front, X2 out back. And on our build specifically, because we are tall guys, we opted in the Mayo program for that 240mm Fox transfer dropper post. So for brakes on our eMTB edition, they are Shimano XTs with 200mm Galfa rotors, both front and rear. When it comes to shifting gears, it is also a Shimano system with an XT derailleur. Keeping the bike rolling down the trail is a set of Oquo MC32 team wheels. And lastly, just to touch on it, our specific build here features that 600 watt-hour battery with the optional range extender.
And a total weight of 49.4 pounds, which is certainly competitive.
It holds it well.
Also important to note that as with all of the other bikes in our shootout, we've got our Orbea Wild wrapped in a set of Orbea tires with the Magic Mary gravity radials up front and the Albert gravity radial in the rear, which is, certainly been giving us all the traction that we've been needing out here in the desert. It's only been small refinements and tweaks here and there to the geometry overall, slightly slacker in the head tube angle, I think there's a slightly different bottom bracket height, but mostly the thing that stands out to me about the Orbea Wild, and I think all the team has agreed so far, is just a nice balance. Overall the handling strikes a good balance between being really stable when you need it to be when you're moving fast, but still agile enough that you can wind your way through the tighter sections of the trail.
Getting the bike set up for me was rather easy. I used a SAG card, made sure SAG was set. Drew was the last one that rode it, and we've been pretty consistent on our setups. He's a little bit heavier for me, so I tend to go up in shock pressure, but we actually run the same on the fork. And outside of that, it was kind of from turn one, literally, was right at home and didn't really have to faff much about on setup for me when it came to getting it on the trail. Yeah,
I think the Orbea suspension system with that, just the general layout, doesn't point in the handling characteristics in any specific direction. Very neutral kind of feeling overall and doesn't require any jiggery pokery really with the setup. Just 30% sag, rough compression settings are recommended for your weight and you're good to go. And I think that really carries on into the handling characteristics.
What about unboxing it? You know, we built these bikes. Was there anything hard or weird out of the box?
No, it's all been pretty straightforward. Of course, if you were to buy an Orbea, it would be delivered directly to a dealer. You can't have it shipped directly to your house, so it's going to be ready to roll, and obviously that dealer is also going to offer you support if you do have any issues with the bike. Some people may comment on the headset cable routing. We've had a few of the Orbeas come with this so far. I don't think it's caused us any issues. It does make it a little bit more difficult to change headset bearings, but I don't think otherwise. Accessing the rear shock with that tricky little frame design there, it's not too difficult. You have to kind of get the shock pump into a weird angle, but once you figured out what angle that is, I don't think it's a problem. And it's not like you're setting up the suspension that many times if you're somebody who owns this bike. Bosch Gen 5, Cole, what's your opinion of it? And especially after the update, which we've been lucky enough to have fitted to it, what are your impressions?
Yeah, I think overall, I enjoy that extra overrun. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I actually came from the Gen 4 race system onto this, and it was like, I remember we were climbing up on the trail, I was like, oh, it's like going from a 2-stroke to a 4-stroke, motorcycle, being able to kind of control that power. And once you get the hang of that overrun, for me being a not as good climber, I was able to half crank and then lift up over some of these rock ledges and utilize that. And I know living with this bike day in, day out, I would really start to understand that. And it can be a benefit, but when used on the side of a cliff doing rock steps, it can get a little hairy and it can get away from you.
Absolutely. I'd almost like to think of it as definitely an advanced sort of system to use. I don't think your average Joe is necessarily going to love that overrun to begin with. It's definitely a steep learning curve to it. It can be a little bit difficult to take control of fully. Once you do get used to it after that learning curve, it's good. It helps you get up some technical sections that otherwise you might struggle with having to keep on turning the pedals. You just give it a little blip of the power and it propels you up. Climbing performance. Well balanced, nice seating position. Suspension gets a good blend of being efficient enough so that when you're in the lower power modes, you don't just feel like you're losing all your energy in the pedal stroke, but when you're in the higher power modes, you don't feel like you're getting completely jarred through the saddle. It's maybe on the slightly firmer side of things at times, but I think overall I'm pretty happy with the climbing performance on this thing.
Totally.
I'd be happy to ride it all day, as I have been doing on my personal Orbea Wild alloy back home.
It's really easy to get your body centered on this, on those steeper sections. I did find, like you had mentioned, a little bit firm off the top, specifically compared to coming off the RE that's really gushy, but then sits into its travel. This kind of wants to stay up a little bit higher, but then when you get up and out of the saddle on some of those more technical climbs, your energy is transferred really smoothly. And that can be changed with your low speed compression. I actually opted to run 2 clicks under, and that for me kind of smoothed that little bit of high speed chatter I was feeling through my bum on some of the climb trails.
Descending the Orbea Wild. Has any of our crew had a bad time or a bad thing to say about it?
No, I took your KOM on it.
Yeah, still a little bit sore about that.
And it's the first thing that I noticed was how much traction front and rear there was, that weight bias where my body was sitting. I was not able to get that rear to break loose in the exact same conditions, same corner as I was on other bikes, which then helped my exit speed and then the confidence. And it was just a big snowball of, wow, I'm going faster, I feel more comfortable, and I can push harder. And we were talking earlier about it's just composed and very predictable. It's
funny, the Orbea Wild, it doesn't look massively different to the previous generation that we've had in the last couple of years shootouts, but the feeling is actually really quite different. And I was worried to start with. They were talking about it being softer, more compliant, and more stable overall. And I was concerned that it was going to lose that edge that I loved so much about the previous generation one. And honestly, it has, but not all for the worse. It's now a lot more comfortable, a lot more planted, and just generally a slightly easier bike to ride, whether you're pushing it really hard or not pushing it hard at all. Sure. I think Orbea has done a really good job with the updates on the Wild, and it's still absolutely up there as one of my favorite e-bikes on the market. It is just, it's the e-bike update that Drew was dreaming of, really. It's softer off the top and all that comfortable stuff that Drew loves. And they've done a killer job with it, absolutely.
When it comes to overall finish, I think Orbea does some really neat things, like very small, like the integrated Garmin mount, big fan. Their charge port cover is easy. It's not hard to pull open. And then you go dive into the rabbit hole of the MyO program. You can build the bike as you see fit. Probably the only bike I'm not going to complain about the dropper post being too short, and that is the height I rode it today. Plenty low enough to get off the back and swing it while also still being really comfortable climbing. There's really no wrong done here.
Yeah, that MyO program is awesome, especially, you can go in and for no extra charge, you can change the frame color to your exact liking. And I think just having that overall, the option to customize it, make it yours, change the components out before you get it so you don't have to buy new components as soon as you get the bike. It all just adds up and really helps with the value proposition. I'm not going to say that at just under 10 grand, this is a smoking deal, but it's all really high quality componentry. Sure. We've had no complaints, no issues with it at all. And to me, it doesn't seem ridiculous for a high quality carbon fiber frame with such good finish.
If you were to recommend this bike to someone, who would it be?
anyone who wants a really kick-ass long travel electric mountain bike. It doesn't have to be ridden super hard to really come alive, but if you are going to push it, you are going to race, you are going to ride some seriously gnarly terrain, it's still going to have your back. The overall fit and finish is great. Yeah, I think it's an e-bike that most riders are going to get along with pretty well. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. I think someone that maybe is looking for the most alive, playful, jib, snappy bike, it's not going to be for you, but you can kind of tell by looking at it and what it's designed for and the wheelbase and the geo set. It is not designed to be the most playful, but by no means does that mean that you can't just have fun, whether that's jumping or going fast.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in to learn all about the Orbea Wild. We'd like to thank our sponsors once again, because without them, this would not be possible. Fox Racing for keeping us looking fresh and safe, Schwalbe Tires for hooking up out on the trails, and Velocirax for getting our bikes to and from each location. And of course, Zion Mountain Ranch for hosting us in a extremely epic setting with some amazing food. Until next time, we will catch you out on the trails.